Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are back to playing some Legacy after a small hiatus on my end. I've been playing a lot of Cube. I've been, traveling, doing coverage. I've been doing some other stuff, but Legacy is always going to be very close to my heart. So let's get into the trenches. So well, not big, small history lesson. Grief has gotten banned in the meantime. I remember doing a look into the future video a few months ago with Bosch and Roll, and one of my decks of choice were Blue-Black Reanimator, basically saying this deck will be strong throughout that ban, and there are a few reasons why that is true. So let's start with the big one. We don't have Grief in our deck anymore, which is, a big blow, because that was part of some of our best openings. It put pressure on opposing combo decks, picked apart, cleared the way for our combo. So I wanted to replace it with a very similar effect, yet different effect. So we have Thoughtseize. 3 copies of Thoughtseize. That's going to be just fine, right? Clear the opponent's hand of a counter, Entomb, Reanimate. Like, that's going to work. Sometimes you can snag a big creature out of the opponent's hand. You can reanimate that. That's going to work. Turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Frog. Strong as well. So that is a serviceable replacement. It is a downgrade, but it's serviceable. And the other reason why I think this deck is still good is, sure, our deck became worse, but how big was the gap beforehand? The gap was most likely bigger than any of us could kind of fathom. And now we're not going to see as many, ton of Endurances, Voidwalkers in the main deck, Soul Cauldron, Soul Guide Lanterns. All of, the metagame was so warped around this deck pre-bans and it was still winning. So my point is, now the competition has gotten worse, quote-unquote worse, because they cut Graveyard Hate from the main deck, and our deck has gotten worse as well, so could be a status quo, could be slightly worse, who knows? Like, what I'm trying to say is this deck is still awesome, mainly because of Psychic Frog. Imagine Psychic Frog wasn't here, then this deck would be a lot more one-dimensional. And yeah. So what else? I decided to try and cut all Wastelands. I have to play 4 Trolls, because without Grief, I only have 4 Trolls for Reanimate and the natural progression of a game to take advantage of my reanimation spells, which is not ideal. I cut a Reanimate because we can't really, without Grief, go super all in. And I added a couple of Murktide Regents. This is basically just saying that any game where I go, Ponder here, Daze there, Fatal Push there, Ponder again, play a 7/7 Murktide Regent. Those games are just going to, do wonders, and it's going to put pressure on the opponent. Worth noting is, against some kind of Graveyard Hate, mainly like the Ley Lines, the Rest in Pieces, the Unlicensed Hearse, Murktide Regent is hard to cast. So this could be where I will end up missing having a big juke like Baragoyf. We'll see about that. So I still play the same 2 fatties. Not much has changed. So basically, I'm trying to run this into the new state of the format here today, and it's going to be cool. The deck is already putting up results, winning challenges, tab-aiding here and there. Even at the paper tournament in Italy, it did well. I believe it put. Actually, I don't know. Maybe. No, I'm messing it up with the tournament before the European Legacy Masters. Doesn't really matter. This deck is a force to be reckoned with. It's still a tier 1 deck. You have to be able to beat it if you are signing up for your Legacy tournament, which is super cool. So 3 Consign to Memory. Various Eldrazi decks are popping up. I will note that Mono Red is also picking up steam, so maybe I'll have to play a Hydroblast one of these days. A couple of Brazens for, the Ley Lines, the Myriad Lages, the opposing Murktides, all of that jazz. Negation for a pushing combo. Harbinger for opposing, Saga, Dark Depths, 5-color control decks. Shoot the Sheriff, Heart Removal against mainly Murktide, also good against Troll and Psychic Frog. A couple of Bowmasters. I actually like that in these decks. You've seen me play a couple of those cards before, and stuff like Grixis. Fatal Push to get the 4th one against especially the new Nado deck, and then a couple of Surgicals for the Mirror. I'm pretty excited to take this deck for a spin. I haven't played it in, 2 or 3 weeks, so yeah. Definitely go get yourself a cold beverage, and I'll see you guys for round 1. All right, round 1, and this Basic Island is not my favorite card to see. I think on the back of this brainstorm, I'll keep and hope I don't get run over. Wow, speaking of, okay. Okay, we just might get totally crushed here. The basic island helps a little bit, but I don't know. This is probably quite terrible for me. If I draw a black source, I'll thought these. The opponent with a no play turn 1 out of mono red is, of course, fortunate when I don't have a force. But it also makes the likelihood that my third Thoughtseize. Great example of how Thoughtseize is worse than Grief here, by the way. You could just easily, grief your opponent and be fine. Yeah, let's play Island Pass. So I was about to say, when the red deck doesn't play anything turn 1, that is, that is good. But if the context is I don't do anything meaningful on turn 1 either, then I just basically gave that deck more time to play the first card out. Wow, Chalice of the Void here. That is incredible against my hand, unfortunately. I do draw Force of Will to somewhat stay in the game, but I'm Brainstorm locked, so... Oh, I have a Ponder. Okay, so put 2 Thoughtseizes back. Force with Murktide. This is going to be terrible. This is really not going to be good for me. And now I need to draw one of the bad Thoughtseizes, and I think I need to hit a land on my Ponder to be in this game. And when I say a land, it needs to be a black source, but I guess all of my lands are black here, which is a little bit trolling. Okay, well, this happens sometimes. If you don't hit on your cantrips, you're not really beating any deck, so 6 black cards, 1 basic island. Let's see. The opponent will finish us off here, and then we're off to sideboarding. Also, pretty cool situation. Oh, okay, nice. The opponent will try and take the initiative here. So I will say, with these new versions of Mono Red, Blood Moon, I mean, that card is actually beatable because I play 4 Trolls of Casa Doom in my deck. This is awesome. Exactly what the opponent wanted to see. But I wanted to say, I play 4 Troll of Casa Doom, which means if I draw that card, I could just, reanimate that. Magus of the Moon is not really a problem either. Okay, I mean, this is, funnily enough, I can cast 0 spells, but I have 4 cards in my deck that puts me in the driver's seat. The deck is currently laughing at me, giving me the duels post Blood Moon, not before, where I could have thought feast and done relevant things. Third Blood Moon is hilariously funny. Troll of Casa Doom, please. So what do I actually do if I draw that card? Do I thought seize? Do I animate dead it? I think I thought seize. Force of Will is only a good card if I can bridge into the next turn without bad things happening, and that was not the case. Magus of the Moon, getting in there. Troll. That's not a troll. So let's see. Right now, my opponent thinks I'm a tempo deck. Let's just discard the Thoughtseize. I don't want to discard reanimation spells or Entomb here, and I actually think that Fatal Push could help me in some absurd situation where I'm actually able to force something, draw into the swamp, and stabilize. So it's kind of cool. Once you're in this, I don't know, 5% match, 5% game, you can think about mitigating how much information you show. There's always, stuff to be gained. Let's see what this is. Could be a Chalice. I highly doubt I'm able to win this game without casting any 1-drops. Let's see if that's possible. What happens if I draw the Troll? No, I'm not. We have to Force a Will, pitch Ponder. Our deck is still not official. I think I have to draw the Troll right now. I don't think I can wait anymore. Also worth noting is my opponent could be playing carefully, and I concede here. My opponent could have been playing carefully with their 4-drops. They play Pyro, Goyf, and the 4-mana initiative creature. And generally, those cards are kind of what we want to see here. Interestingly enough, we don't know if our opponent puts us on Reanimator, but I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. It's mainly just saying it out loud. So let's see. Thoughtseize, pretty good turn 1. I think I'd rather get to my main plan and have a better blue count. So let's see. What am I cutting here? I always, in these matchups, I always like cutting 1 or 2 ponders. I actually think it's super strong to trim the ponders. Let's see if we still have a good enough blue count. I mean, we bring in 4, so I think it's fine. Now I need to cut 1 more. The opponent showed that they're the Chalice version. That means they're not going to have a ton of Pyroblasts. Days on the play is fine. Down to 2 ponders. I don't want to go further. It's very possible that a card like Fatal Push is not amazing. The Revolt can be a bit awkward. I added another spot removal. Yeah, maybe this should be fine. I have Force Negations for basically Moon's Fable and Chalice, whereas what was the card I was thinking about? Consigned to Memory doesn't hit as many cards. Oh, this is interesting. So I can go turn 1. It's kind of weird because this Fatal Push alongside a fetch land enables me to play around something like Rabblemaster, Lelia, Magus of the Moon. And if that happens, then I can't Brainstorm Fetch, but maybe that's acceptable. Then if nothing happens, I'm trying. If I get Magus, this is awesome. Rabblemaster, same. What if I get Chaliced? Then I have to Brainstorm a response out of the wrong, like, fetch basic island. What about playing out Flooded Strand? Then if the opponent goes 3-drop, I go Underground Sea. Yeah, I think that's slightly better because I'm hedging with fetching the basic island out for Brainstorm. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see if the opponent can... okay, they kept 7 cards. Fair enough. Yeah, this is definitely a hand that I keep on the back of the Brainstorm. If that Brainstorm is a Ponder, I don't keep. If that Brainstorm is anything else, I most likely don't keep, so... very, very tough. Here's Chrome Mox, so I'm hoping for my opponent to play a 3-drop that I can Fatal Push. Blood Moon would crush me. Chalice of the Void, paying for days is what it looks like. That will also crush me. So now I have to fetch my island and cast Brainstorm in response. Very cool play by the opponent. Heads up, playing out that. Wow, this is horrible. So I get rid of 2 Underground Seas. I force the Chalice. And I cycle on upkeep for... yes, it has to be Basic Swamp. Okay, opponent. I see you. So I fetch for Basic Swamp here, but I play out Polluted Delta in case I need to do, the same old kill a creature with Fatal Push. Draw another Fatal Push, which is not that bad, but I need something to turn the corner. I need something proactive, because my stuff is so situational here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay, so now I'm going to go get Undercity Sewers, because killing a goblin doesn't care about Revolt. Undercity Sewers. Let's trigger. I find a daze. I get rid of a daze. I draw into... let's go! Okay. Very bad Force of Will. So... kill the goblin, pass the turn. No more Revolt. No blue card for the Force. This game is, again, a match like this is cool to showcase because even though I'm getting handily crushed, there's so much small stuff to learn where you give yourself a better chance of winning, right? Thinking about what to do with the flood is like the land drop turn 1, upkeep cycling the troll, beaning the days into infinite mana. There's definitely some stuff here that's cool to think about. That's something that I care a lot about, whether I'm winning handily or losing handily, thinking about how to, lose less or win more, essentially, is big. Let's see, what can we draw? I was about to say, card like Reanimate or Animate Dead would be solid. Let's put a Troll into play. And now I'm going to play my land out because if I have a bad draw step next turn that is a land, Hardcast Force of Will is better than nothing. So it doesn't feel good to play out that land in my Brainstorm deck, but I think it's correct. The opponent can now sculpt their hand, and they get a 2/2. So everything is like threatening, like Pyrogoy, Fury, Rabble Master, everything out of that deck is basically scary with a copy, a hasted copy. Also, it just might be an older version of the deck. I think the newer versions favor something like Vexing Bauble, where you're basically saying, I'm playing this as an anti-Force of Will and Force Negation card, and it also unlocks the reliance of Pyroblast out of the sideboard. I actually like that quite a bit. Let's see. Here's Blood Moon, which actually is not the worst right now. Am I winning here? Am I winning this race? So now my best draw is a random blue card, funnily enough. And that is also funny. So this is basically where you would more often than not have a Guri flying around, and that would be a live draw. But now no creatures. Super brutal. I'm just waiting for my opponent to kill me here. Let's see. I mean, I'm winning the race right now. I'm losing to cards like, the One Ring, Initiative Creature, this and that. Here's Elvish. Here's Simeon Spirit Guide. Oh, okay. So the opponent is looking to triple block the troll here and keep a reflection. That is kind of interesting. I draw that card. Huh. I think I'm supposed to force the trade here. Now the opponent makes a copy of Simeon Spirit Guide, blocks with Reflection and Double Spirit Guide. I kill those, so my opponent's going to have... I guess... Okay. Wait a minute. Let me see here. My opponent's going to make a copy end of turn. What if they have another Spirit Guide? I don't know. I think I'm just supposed to pass and have Force of Will. Huh. Because reflections are good together. So if my opponent has another Spirit Guide, they don't make a copy. What? Feel like... Okay, this is weird. I don't think I'm supposed to be in this game. So now the opponent passed the turn once more. The opponent could have gotten in for free damage here. Okay, well, sometimes you get a shot you're not supposed to get. This is definitely one of those. Another Psychic Frog is not a bad draw. Obviously, my opponent does not have Dead Gone. Then they would have gone for something. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm losing to the twin part of the deck, so to speak. No, I'm not. I don't know what's going on here. I feel like the opponent could have done something. Yeah. Sure. Triple block with those. My opponent still has double reflection. What do I do? I feel like... Let's see. I have to think a little bit about the... life total situation. If I play Frog and I have to force, I draw a card, pitch both. Flying, win the game. Opponents... Yeah, the problem is the opponent's at 4, not 3, though. What happens if I reanimate Troll, I go to 5? I think that's okay. You lose to Graveyard Hate, like Fairy Macabre, which could very well be in the opponent's hand. But I think this is okay. This is giving myself a chance to win the game. Those guys die. Yeah, I feel like if the opponent didn't miss the damage the other turn, I would be in trouble. Alright, mirror breaks for those guys. And my opponent needs to resolve something to get around my Troll. Opponent needs to also play 2 cards. So let's see, what does this card do? My opponent has 2 cards left. Magus of the Moon. If my opponent does not have any more spells, they can go copy Magus, block with Magus, Reflection. I guess make 2 Magus copies. That would be kind of annoying. Then I'm kind of back where I started next turn. Okay, so because of that, I will force a Will the Magus and force my opponent to have another creature. And thereby also using their mana, so they actually have to chum block with, you know, stuff that dies. So let's see. My opponent has an answer. I'm dead. If they don't, I force game 3. Okay. Animate Dead is cool, but there's no, like, hasty boys, so... I feel like I might as well not cast the card. Yeah, that looks about right. Troll getting in there. My opponent needs to come up with 3 blockers. Opponent tries to block. I mean, I can't blame my opponent. It's not reasonable that that card has all that text. Illegal blocking. Troll of Khazad-dûm can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, but only 2 are assigned to block it. Okay, well, the program also let the opponent know. Okay, so we force game 3 here. Very, very lucky. On the draw against that deck is a nightmare. Any hand without a negation or force is iffy. Now the opponent has also learned we're Reanimator, which is not an advantage. So I basically won the game without... Well, I lost game 1 without showing it, and then I won game 2 showing it. So not only is the opponent on the play, they also have the full info. That's just how it goes. Okay, I guess we just do it. Don't think I can optimize my setup here. Let's have a Force of Will in our opener, or see a mulligan or something out of the Ancient Tomb deck. And when the Ancient Tomb deck can keep, you know, solid 7s, it's a very scary deck. So part of what balances out the deck in the grand level, like, you know, grand scheme of power level things, is the inconsistency. So let's see. It's not quite, you know, like Dredge and Vintage keeping 7. That's incredibly terrifying. It's definitely more consistent than that, but and less scary. So, but it's still one of those decks where, you know, the Chrome Mox, the killing your own land with Cydia Traders, this and that, like using Spirit Guides, it can kind of catch up to you. This hand is cool. I have the basic swamp, so that means if I spend my turn 1 digging for the island, I don't care about all of the moons. Hopefully I can bridge and not die. With this Force of Will, it looks like a Chalice, which is super annoying. What should I pitch? Oh, Unlicensed Hearse. Unlicensed Hearse is another card I should Force of Will here, I feel like. Because my hand can actually beat moons. Okay, so I guess I get rid of Brainstorm, and then I go turn 1 Ponder off Island. Unless I draw Reanimation, then I go turn 1 Entomb. Okay. Think I have a plan, then I have the Brazen for a rainy day later. That is a very good draw, I feel like. Let's ponder. Right now, I just want to put, Blood Moon, anti-Blood Moon stuff into play and look for my reanimation spell. I mean, I don't think these cards do anything. I think I'm only looking for reanimation spells at this point. Or Psychic Frog, I guess. Okay, let's shuffle. Shoot the Sheriff is an average draw. It's not bad. Could be that I kill, I don't know, Bombardier or something later. Speaking of, my opponent has Bombardier under the Chrome box. Is this a pass? Very good for me. So my opponent's hand is 3 drops. Okay. Opponent's hand is 3 drops. So now I can go Cycle Troll, play Undercity Sewers. I actually feel like I should do that. Cycle Troll, Undercity Sewers. This is good for a couple of reasons. First of all, I manipulate my next draw. Second of all, I'm not showing my opponent that Blood Moon is going to be a bad play. So I'm both advancing my own game plan and hiding information from my opponent that could lead to bad plays on their part. Or suboptimal. Maybe not. Maybe bad is a tough word. Okay, so I keep digging towards one of those 7 reanimation spells. I will have to get there. Okay, here's a somewhat new addition. Okay, what? Okay, so maybe okay, so this could be one of 2 things. My opponent's hand is like Fairy Macabres, and lots of them. Or my opponent's really respecting days. I don't know which one to believe. Should I put my creature into the graveyard? I feel like yes. But it's also a little bit scary. Not gonna lie. Atraxa, I guess? I can put Atraxa. Draw? Polluted Delta. So, I mean, I think I should follow the trend of getting the second sewer out of here while... maybe I'm supposed to do it now to make my opponent play Blood Moon. This is such a cheesy play. I have a good friend who's very good at making these, like, bad plays. So let's see, how do I get, when I say bad plays, it's because you think they're going to impact the opponents enough. So let's see here. What if the opponent just goes Bombardier? Do I then think it's worth it to not shoot the sheriff? Well, I guess actually Bombardier is a terrible... That's actually a pirate, so that's not going to be... So if my opponent goes Rabble Master, basically... I kind of want my opponent to play Blood Moon. This could be too cute. Oh. Okay, so it looks like my opponent is not going to mess around anymore. But now I'm giving them a reason to choose Blood Moon over something else, right? Let's see. Here's Fatal Push. I'm also going to mill that card. This is quite scary because a Fairy Macabre in the opponent's hand just invalidates everything I've been working for. And that would be a reasonable card for the opponent to have. I'll say that. The opponent draws a land. Shocks here to play around. Yep. Okay, so what did we learn today? We learned today that sometimes it's good to crack your fetches for Undercity Sewers at terrible times if you can buy time out of the opponent. So, pretty cool situation here. The opponent has no idea of knowing that I either have Swamp or Second Troll to invalidate this. Also worth noting, it actually stops Hardcast Brazen. It stops Murktide Regent. So, the card is not bad. It's just better for me than other stuff out of that deck. We draw the Animate Dead, so I guess we go for it. Try and reanimate Atraxa. Unfortunately, I think the opponent has Fairy Macabre with the way they played previously, saying go with 3 mana, but it could be the Daze thing. That's what I'm hoping for. I hope my opponent played around Daze. Yeah, okay. Now it's going to be tough for the opponent. Now it's going to be incredibly tough for the opponent. Murktides are dead cards. So let's see. Troll as a creature might... No, I should probably take Brazen as a creature. Push, Instant, Reanimate, Underground Sea, those 4. go up to 7 cards, have a card I don't care about for Force of Will, and then still a bounce spell. That's not bad. What I could do here is bounce my opponent's Chrome Mox, but I don't think that's valuable. I think it's better to bounce something else later that my opponent actually spends a lot of mana on. If I had the days, I could consider it because of how my opponent played. So from the point of view of my opponent, I just drew that swamp off the top. No, I couldn't, because I also needed the Animate Dead. Maybe my opponent is just thinking, how did I come up with Animate Dead and Swamp on the same turn? But it was actually pretty interesting. And it also always feels good when it works, right? It's just if you have the creativity to think about stuff like that, then you can get some edge. You need a little bit of hand reading. You need a little bit of luck as well. So let's see. Trinisphere. So I think I'm supposed to accept that card. Question is if I'm bouncing anything first. If I'm bouncing Chrome Mox, that card is never going to see play again. Basically, what if I bounce Blood Moon? What I want to do here is play around my opponent having Soul Land Pyroblast, but I guess Reanimate in my hand plays around that just fine. I feel like I should bounce something. My mana is going to be pretty worked up. Should I bounce the Blood Moon? The Blood Moon... Oh, right. The Blood Moon makes it so the opponent can't have Soul Land here. Okay, so maybe I just bounced a Mox. I think this is fine. Now my opponent has no spells this turn. They take a hit. I can force the next thing. Then they take a hit. And then they have to, yeah. This was a cool, lots of cool stuff going on here. But I think I went through them all like real time. But pretty exciting how this game was about a lot more than just, you know, the cards drawn and how stuff lined up. It was a lot about realizing my opponent is willing to play around days and delaying their plans, realizing they might prioritize Blood Moon over a better card if I, you know, fetch at a suboptimal time. The slow roll Swamp really punished them. I did dig everything I could. I milled over serviceable stuff like Fatal Push and one more card I can't remember. Just really digging for the Animate Dead. I find it. Yeah, just kind of cool. Concealing the info, game 1. All of that stuff. Pretty cool for a one match where two seemingly very proactive decks are just looking to do their thing. But yeah, okay. Great start. Let's see if we can keep up the learnings and the winnings. All right, round 2. Fight. Opponents on the play with a... that was half-ass. I should redo this intro. No, I'll leave it here. Opponents on the play took a mulligan. I'm looking at this. This hand is kind of weird. Let's say I had something like an Underground Sea. I could build my own Brainstorm attracts it to the top, surveil it away. This is going to be surveil and pass. Then it's going to be trying to cantrip into the game. Lots of decks are going to be too fast for any of this to matter. I'm going to take a mulligan here. I don't like it at all, but I'm going to take a mulligan here. Okay, double Entomb. I can get rid of the Archon quite freely. Yeah, well, I'm not going to go to 5 here. I think this is acceptable. I'm basically hoping that the first Entomb gets forced, but I don't know. I think I recognize this name because I think it's funny that it's a Dan, is it Clan? I think it's a Doomsday Pilot, but I mean, who knows? Could be anything these days. I'm also playing lots of stuff all over the place. Let's see. Let it strain go. That does not tell me anything more. So let's see. What can we do from the top of the deck? I can draw my own Flooded Strand, so... Okay. I guess I'm in. I'm basically looking to get that Entomb countered, so I'm going to give my opponent as much time as possible to find said counter. So worth noting is that if you have like these, I always call it low resource, like turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 with no mana, Atraxa, you can't, let's see. You can't dig into grief. That was what I was trying to say. You can't dig into grief, so those situations have gotten a little bit worse. So now I'm basically trying to say, if this works, I can dig for like force and days. If this does not work, at least my opponent has fewer resources to work with. As I said, I'm hoping this exact Entomb gets countered. That would be ideal for me. Street Wraith into a blank card. My opponent just revealed their deck. And here's a Force of Will. Oh yeah, this is kind of the dream for me. Let's see. How do I play now? The cool thing is that you should note here is I'm thinking with this on the stack. I don't have a force, but I'm thinking right now. Let's see if I can explain this. I'm doing my thinking, but my opponent can't realistically update their situation to, oh, he doesn't have a Force of Will. So whereas if I let this resolve and then think, then all of a sudden my opponent has more time to think about, oh, my opponent does not have the force. With that being said, if my opponent's remaining cards are Doomsday, Land, which is like, at this point, the most likely that my opponent needed a random blue card off the top of the Street Wraith, which was a second force, and my opponent sculpted into Land Doomsday. I think that's what I have to prepare for right now. So let's see. Land Doomsday gets beat by Daze. I don't think I'm supposed to Entomb on upkeep here, because I need to spike the land to take advantage. Okay, I'll wait. Very tough call, actually. Oh, and here's Consider. So my opponent's playing around Orcish Bowmasters here, which is reasonable. This makes it less likely that my opponent has Land Doomsday. Now, what is that an argument for? So sometimes you hear people be like, oh yeah, my opponent multi-4, so I just kept the bat 7. Or my opponent multi-4, so I also mulliganed. Like, what is it actually an argument for? Let's see. If I spike the land, I'm kind of a G. What if I don't spike the land? The thing is, I don't have a blue card, so Force of Will is not a good draw. Then I need to pair it with my draw step anyway. I think with how this worked out, I'm gonna Entomb on upkeep here, going for Atraxa. Okay, my opponent has Daze. That's all goody. So now, for my next trick, I draw the blue card, which is awesome. Play that. Another blue card. I feel like I should keep that. Okay, so next turn, I can reanimate either a Street Wraith or a Troll. It's most likely going to be a Troll, because the good thing about Troll is it finds an untapped land, so it's like, if you're missing your land job, it's like 0 mana land cycler. My opponent has a land and an unknown in hand, so sure, they can put together Ritual Doomsday, which I will then counter. Oh, I guess they returned to Sewers. Okay. So, don't know the top card of my deck. Oh, I do. Okay, perfect. I do. It's all about remembering everything here. Let's see. Swamp Cycle, Underground Sea, play Underground Sea, reanimate Troll. Don't fire off the Ponder, because if I draw an additional blue card next turn, I bury my opponent here. Also worth noting, once I get one hit in, my opponent has to win on the spot with Doomsday. So this is now or never when it comes to the Doomsday, because that would put my opponent to 7. And I don't think my opponent can do anything now. Now I get one hit in, and yep, the opponent sees the writing on the wall. Wow, okay. So I was very lucky my opponent decided to play Control Doomsday, if that makes sense. Countering the Exhumes. No, Exhume. I keep calling it Exhume. I've played too much Cube, I think. Entomb. So worth noting is the Doomsday decks these days are some bad boys when it comes to Sideboard plans. I think a couple of Brazen is what I'm looking for. I don't think I'm looking for actual hard removal. Also, Consign to Memory is sketchy. I don't know how many of those I want. So still keep around my broken angle. I still have the Thought Seizes. I love that. Fatal Pushes are definitely not good enough. I think I could cut a land in theory since my mana is not getting pressured and I'm playing a matchup where that might come in handy. So the other option here is to go a bit more mid-range, trim different stuff here. Like, what if I cut... Let's try this. Like, what if I cut 1 troll, 3 animate dead. What if I cut those? So now I have 4 reanimates. Still have both fatties. In theory, I could cut like one of those, and have it like shut down hate basically, and then play a bit more normal magic. Winning with, you know, a combination of Frog, Bowmasters. Oh, by the way, Frog. There's probably going to be Frog in my opponent's deck. Okay, this is annoying. I think I need these. Maybe I can get rid of everything here. I'm actually okay doing that. I get rid of everything in that pile. 3 pushes. I need to add 2 more cards. That could just be... I don't know, man. Maybe I need like 2 Entombs and an Atraxa. I didn't really know what to do here. 2 Entombs and an Atraxa. Just for the random situation. Don't think I'm cutting a troll. Maybe I'm just cutting a reanimate. I don't know. This was tough. The opponent has Street Wraith. I kind of got lost here in sideboarding. I need to cut 1 more card on the Droshky. I'll cut a cantrip even though it's insane. Or a Brazen, I guess. Ah, got super lost there. Definitely a sign of not having played for a while, having the like a perfect sideboard plan. My logic here ended up being that stopping the opponent is going to be the #1 priority, and I'm definitely the better Psychic Frog deck, especially if I add in removal. I think there's 0 chance my opponent gets rid of all creatures here and go all spells, but who knows. This hand is cool. Some sculpting. We're good against discard spells. If you put a Trax into the yard, there's a problem, you know, looming like a big gray cloud over the opponent, and yeah, that's what we came to see. My opponent plays, I would assume, like Frog, Barrogoyf, maybe even Murktide. I don't know. Turn 1 Ponder's just fine. I'm definitely leaning towards turn 1 Ponder. Would love to get to a Daze or a Force of some kind. Let's see. Draw. Here's a Bowmaster, not bad. Let's fetch an Underground Sea. Turn 1 Ponder. Entomb is not good. Thoughtseize is good, but I need the Force of Negation now in case weird things happen like Doomsday. Okay, I mean, these are decent magic cards. This game could be a bit weird depending on the opponent's plan. Let's see. Okay, they're brainstorming, playing around Bowmasters and playing to their own potential when it comes to ritual something. If my opponent goes ritual, am I countering it? That's a good question to ask yourself. Pedal is all good. Fetch. So now my opponent plays around Daze when it comes to ritualing out stuff. Okay, Ponder, sure. So my opponent's sculpting. Weird game. Am I supposed to try and Entomb now? Or hold up Bowmasters? This is not perfect. I think I'm holding up Bowmasters. Oh, I forgot about the Thoughtseize already. Okay, I guess I Thoughtseize. For some reason, I thought this was second Bowmaster, but now I remember. Okay, Thoughtseize is good here. I like that card a lot. We don't get Veiled. The opponent has those cards. Okay, cool. So, Murktide Regent. My opponent can play Murktide Regent with Thoughtseize backup next turn. So, I think I'm taking the Thoughtseize, actually. Also worth noting, I think I only have one Brazen and my own Murktide to beat that card. So, let's see. Let's take the Thoughtseize, and then I feel like I should cast Ponder. Yeah, that should be good. So, C, Ponder. These cards are good. So, drawing the Reanimate, looking to maybe upkeep shenanigans. My opponent goes Murktide. I can go... How big is the Murktide? Murktide would be 7/7, so that works. Funnily enough, my opponent draws Cavern. But I think that's definitely acceptable. So now things are going to get a tiny bit weird. 7/7, I make a 7/7. Here comes Entomb. No Archon, unfortunately. That would have been GG's. Traxa, draw. Know my opponent's hand, so I can play this Reanimate first. Atraxa triggers. Very happy with the 7/7 stats. So let's see. Instant Force of Will. Pretty nice. Reanimate. Probably pretty strong as a sorcery. If this comes to a stall, I can just start attacking. The opponent's in big, big trouble. My opponent has what left? Let's see. My opponent has not that. Not that. Double Delta Doomsday left. Guess we go for a normal land no matter what. How many creatures are here? I already have that. Yeah, Frog. And then it's Reanimate versus Thoughtseize. So the thing is, what's the worst thing my opponent can draw from my point of view? I don't even know. That's the thing. If I take Reanimate, the opponent can never... Can I set up a good situation? But if I take the Thoughtseize and get rid of the Doomsday, my opponent is also really behind. Okay. I guess I'll take the Thoughtseize because I believe my deck will beat my opponent's deck if we are low resource. So, Underground Sea. Thoughtseize the Doomsday. Go to 7. I love that version of Doomsday, by the way. I should buy it myself. Okay. So, now what? Opponent needs an amazing draw here. I think second Murktide is the best draw in the deck. Because 1 card in the yard, 2 cards in the yard, and 5 mana. Yeah, if my opponent just drew the second copy of Murktide, this is amazing. This is exactly what my opponent wanted. It's still possible. They could have definitely drew that, and I actually lose to that card. Let's see. Second copy of Murktide kills me here. Okay, that's not good. My opponent needs to, what do you call it? Force the issue here. Trade off. And my opponent has to, what? Pass the turn into 7 cards here? Opponent draws another Doomsday. I don't think I can allow that. So let's go. Force negation, pitch days. Still have Force of Will left. My opponent's going to know that, and the Psychic Frog, so pretty good situation for me here, everything considered. Yeah, the opponent can't do anything here. I play Psychic Frog, I have Force of Will, I'm going to Bowmaster, so this was very, very exciting because my opponent found a weird way to present a big Murktide, but if this is an 8-8, I have to find another plan, but it was a 7-7, so the trade with Atraxa just makes this awesome. This basically made it so that I killed a Murktide and drew 4 cards off of the Entomb Reanimate shenanigans. And then obviously winning from here is not a problem, so pretty cool stuff. Keeping in 2 Entombs. I mean, this sideboard plan was a mess, so please don't copy that at home. I want to give that a good thought and actually come back stronger because this was, I'll say, very low likelihood of being correct, but, you know, also, it was kind of reasonable, so I'm satisfied enough with that, but it could have been communicated more clearly, I would say. Okay, that puts us at 2-0. Let's see if we can continue the run with Blue-Black Reanimator. Alrighty, round 3 here, and this is not a grief, but it's good enough for me. Turn 1 Thoughtseize with this hand is quite awesome, so let's see if it's enough. I will have to file a complaint about this troll not being a blue card, though. That is really not okay. So ideally, we clear the way for, and, you know, make a big creature turn 2, everybody's happy. But yeah, let's see. A lot of stuff can happen here between Wasteland days, all of that crap. So let's see. Okay. This is cool. We're playing against some Beanstalk control deck. And I have turn 2. I can Atraxa away the Tamiyo if I want to. Worth noting is the opponent has Caracas, so what did I say? Did I say Atraxa? Yeah, I can Archon away the Tamiyo. Worth noting is the Caracas. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is remove Swords to Plowshares. My opponent will think this is to clear the way for a Psychic Frog. They will play turn 1 Tamiyo. I will upkeep Entomb. And hopefully kill the Tamiyo and eat a card out of the opponent's hand and find myself a blue card in the process. So I have it all mapped out, but now it's up to reality to show its ugly face. The opponent could have just drawn Force of Will or Force of Negation. Then this doesn't work, but let's see. Archon of Cruelty. Draw a blue card. I'm the champ. I'm the champ. Very nice draw. Tamiyo gone. I draw. I dodge Caracas. I just nailed the plow. I have a force for the binding, but I think I'm getting in one more hit. I doubt my opponent is playing the exact triumph that goes with Tundra. Which would that be? That would be... Help me out here. Junt? Yeah. Oh, they can play 2 mana. Okay, got it. That works. I even saw the value. So, my opponent's hand is currently Brainstorm, Leyline Binding, Flooded Strand, the 1 unknown. Don't mind if I do. Force of Will, baby. My opponent needs a Force of Will here as their last card, and they did. Okay, so we have a game. That's great. So, opponent is down to not Flooded Strand, not Bayou, not Caracas. Maybe I just lost track of their hand and they have 1 unknown. Okay. So, Archon down. Pretty cool that the opponent was able to play through Thoughtseize Force of Will with turn 2 Archon. That is definitely cool. I draw Murktide Regent. That's so funny. Let's play that. Oh, maybe I should. Should I do? No, actually, So I could develop. I could go Troll. I feel like having the shuffle effect could be better, but I'm actually not sure about that. I think it's better to have 3 mana. Yeah, I convinced myself it's better to have 3 mana so I can actually brainstorm into something like Psychic Frog next turn. Murktide Regent is a 7/7 is quite powerful. With one card in hand, and here's the fetch. So could be in trouble here after a game with the nut start. That is definitely something to think about. What is this? Teferi would be atrocious for me. Uro more manageable. Uro drawing into a plains. That's not the land my opponent wanted. Fatal push. I'll try and keep up the pressure here, despite, you know, the risk of bricking here on Brainstorm. So funnily enough, I think I'm supposed to play like this. I think I go Ponder. There's Reanimate on Troll, so that's just what the doctor ordered. And then I have a Brainstorm on top. And if weird things happen, I can fetch for Surveil. Actually, I have 13 damage in place, so not even Uro saves my opponent here. So even if my opponent drew, like, I don't know, Tropical Island, they go Uro. Yeah, they have to find some kind of plow effect here. Also worth noting is I have Brainstorm into Fatal Push, and I have Revolt thanks to Flooded Strand, so I can actually slow things down here if I want to. So first of all, my opponent needs to find exactly Binding or Swords to Plowshares off the top of their deck. If that happens, we play on. If that does not happen, we are on to sideboarding. Actually, Leyland Binding is not enough here, because the opponent does not have a red duel. So one of the three plows right now. Last turn, what I wanted to do, the reason why I pondered first was, if I have the magical card, like as third card down, I expose myself to that upside. If I don't, then I shuffle on the ponder, and then I kind of clear this for an Undercity Sewers for the following turn. So I gave up a little bit of digging power on the actual turn. Yeah, this is awesome. This is exactly what you want to see. Murktide Regent gets killed. I'm up to 12. Now I Brainstorm into the push and kill the Uro and force my opponent to once again come up with the nuts, which is very possible. Very, very possible. So, Reanimate, not a good card. Undercity Sewers. Psychic Frog, yes, please. Kill Uro. Attack for 6. And here we are again. Can my opponent do it? This is cool. This is me firing on all cylinders, and the opponent keeps replying. This is super cool. If my opponent finds a fetch here, they prolong the game, which is amazing. Let's see. Fetch land. Yeah, 5 cards in the yard. Uro. The opponent goes to 8. Then they go to 2. I develop a frog. So once more, I mean, my opponent will stabilize. If they find an answer for Troll here on the next turn, they stabilize, which is amazing. Oh, Mystic Sanctuary. Wait a minute. Oh, and then don't do it, because that you don't have any more green sources? Got it. Okay, yeah, maybe the opponent thought they had it all here. I don't know. So it looks like we're kind of, you know, wasting a Sanctuary here, so to speak. I hope it's a May ability. Yeah, May ability, sure. If my opponent puts something on top here, they're dead, so they have to exile the yard, Uro, draw, take a hit. I also will have a frog at that point, an attack, gain life, draw. So actually, the opponent has 3 cards to look at for troll removal. They've done more with less before, so wouldn't put it past them. Also worth noting is I play 0 Brazen Borrowers in the main deck, so I don't have the option to unlock Archon at any point. This is probably one of the sickest games I've had in a long time. I'm doing everything. My opponent's answering, refusing to die. Really love this. Started with the Force. Then it was the Plow. Then it was... I feel like it was one more card. Yeah. That was pretty... Just a great game. So let's see. We play that. Attack the opponent down to 2. My opponent will attack me down to 5 here. So it's only thanks to the life gain from the opponent's Plow that I'm even alive here. Or, you know, that I don't have to chum block with my Frog here. I'll take the damage, I believe. Is it good to take the damage here? Opponent goes to 5. I mean, yeah. Why not? No land is put into play. That's not a good sign. This is before damage. I'll take it here, go to 5. Let's see what the opponent has up their sleeve. They're playing on, so I just assume I'm in a very bad situation. Let's see. My opponent's own Psychic Frog, and I bet removal for the Troll? That's kind of mandatory at this point. Green, blue. Oh, going to 8 here with Uro. This is amazing. But it's not enough. Worth noting, it's not enough. It is. It is enough. Wow, the Psychic Frog can gain flying from the Uro, the next draw, and the card already in my opponent's hand. So good. What a game. This is one of the best games. Yeah, just amazing. So now I'm in trouble. Tracks of the draw. Not quite what I needed. So let's see. I can't attack with anything else but the Troll. I think if my opponent has exactly bricks, I can chum block the Uro. My opponent has 3 cards. That's 4 damage. What a game. Yeah, my opponent played this so well. Just give yourself a chance to win. A bit of a bummer with the Sanctuary. That could have come in handy later. But yeah, this was an amazing game. Maybe a Beanstalk here. Beanstalk is just a cycle. But oh, well, since my opponent plays out that land, I assume they have something like Solitude or whatever. The game is over for sure here. Oh, it's another Beanstalk. I think my opponent made a tiny mistake here. Let's see if it costs them. If they just find 2 random cards here. Well, maybe it's not a mistake, but the land drop could be. I mean, I just didn't see why the land drop was supposed to get in there. Removal, I'm dead. Uro has 1 more draw in it. Here's Tameo for the 3 blockers. But I'm not sure the opponent's playing this like they should, because now what if I attack with both? I don't know. I just assume my opponent does not have the removal, or they would have just won on their own turn. Let's see. Okay, so blocking order. I mean, like this, I guess. Discard to Frog. Move to damage. Oh. think that my opponent needs to attack there and try and spike the card off the top of the deck. I'm actually almost certain that was the move. The opponent needs to attack there. Huh. Okay, well, we don't complain about those. So my opponent's deck is a Beanstalk deck with a very greedy mana base. So I've basically just said why these 4 cards should come in. But it's also a Psychic Frog deck, which is incredibly annoying. When you play Psychic Frog, and other than that, no good targets. That's just annoying. So I think I removed Daze. I think that card can have mileage without being there, so to speak. I need to remove one more card. Maybe a card like Thoughtseize? I mean, Thoughtseize is fine. Thoughtseize is not amazing. Could be good in this matchup, where life total isn't that important. Because of Leyline Binding being in there, should I have Brazen Borrower? And Science of Memory is also a hard counter while the trigger's on the stack, but I think that's a bit more iffy. I think going down to 2 Thoughtseize is perfectly fine. Trim a little bit, like trim and animate dead. That's not terrible. Maybe I want to prepare for the opponent being prepared for the yard. So what else are we talking about? Like 1 and 2, maybe? 3 Entombs also seems kind of bad. Unless I cut like 1 more animate dead. Do I like negation? I mean, I do against Beanstalk specifically. Ground Seal and stuff like that could also be in there. Okay, so 1 more match where I kind of get lost in sideboarding. Maybe all the anime deads are expendable. 3 alongside the trolls. I don't know. Maybe like this. I'm actually not too sure. I'll try. Pretty hard with the frogs being in the mix to decide what to go for. Because Force of Negation is very bad against, frog type stuff. Also, the opponent has Tameo. I should have thought more about that, so. I think the 4th Fatal Push is actually something I should have every time. So I have the Harbinger in hand. I will, if nothing happens, I'll go for a Surveil Land, but I will need the Delts to go get Swamp later. I'm hoping to kind of cheese my opponent with Harbinger. That's definitely a way to win the game. The opponent's not fetching. Wonder if my opponent is actually respecting Harbinger already. Okay, they're not. They just wanted more info. That makes a lot of sense when you're playing like this kind of deck where you want to put together as many land types as possible, but any, let's say you draw a Savannah, that changes everything. You draw a Tropical, that changes everything. You draw a New Fetch, that changes. So I like how the opponent played here. Let's see. Up the Beanstalk is incredibly annoying because it now turns their Force of Wills into awesome spells, and I can't really punish. So let's mill this troll over. I think what I'm going to do is Atraxa. So I could go to cleanup here, but I think that's bad, mainly because of my turn 3 Harbinger. Should I bounce the Beanstalk? Right now, ideally, I want my opponent to play up the Beanstalk, not have the actual Force of Will. Yeah, this is really bad. I'm going to bounce this because if my opponent does not have the Force... Oh, Daze. Wow, Daze in that deck. Okay, didn't see that coming, but I guess it's better to get that dazed. So, well, this is even more reason to do it now. You kind of force disruption out of your opponent. My opponent plays well here. He just checked me. If I had a daze, I daze back there. I don't, so they can wait on the land drop. Yeah, so it was like trying to clear the way for Force, or trying to make my opponent spend more mana on the Beanstalk, less digging power for the Force. And now my opponent can actually just have a planes and, you know, fetch basic planes in response here. So I think I need a new plan that kind of plays a little bit better against that. I think I just pass here. Can't play a Murktide. Like, sure, I can play a 3/3 Murktide, but that's bad. I think I need to find a spot. I need to find a spot for the Harbinger. Now the opponent can go for, like, Triome or Surveilling. Actually go for that one to have all the colors. Let's see. Yeah, I'm in trouble here. Let's see what this is. Another Up the Beanstalk. I have a feeling it's not terrible to... I was gonna say I want to tempo my opponent with the Brazen Borrower here. The thing is, my opponent's holding up white mana, so I want to make my opponent, you know, mess up here and basically kill the Brazen. 2 Up the Beanstalks. Yeah, this is so tough. It's so annoying because my opponent's holding this up for Orcus Bowmasters, but it works like a charm against Harbinger as well. Did I remove all my dazes? I did remove all my dazes. Okay, so I guess let's attack. I feel like I should cast Brainstorm here, trying to find Force and cheese my opponent. I don't have great chances of doing so, but I think I'm supposed to. Wow, these cards are horrible. So get rid of the big boys. Get rid of the big boys. This land is really not ideal here either, because I wanted to go Ponder, then fetch. Pretty tough. Because now I want to cast a Murktide Regent this turn. Thoughtseize is a good one. The land is serviceable. So now I go Murktide. Then next turn I go Thoughtseize, Harbinger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave the troll. Murktide Regent. Pass. Great game. Super great game. I've been lucky today with awesome games. Against Red, against Doomsday, against this. Like, all sorts of small puzzles, which is super cool. Okay, so my opponent's setting up a Terminus here, which is terrible for me. And then I go Thoughtseize, Harbinger, and I hope my opponent can't do anything about that, which is very, very theoretical. I need my opponent to have like 1 force and nothing else to interact. And then I resolve that. My opponent can't cast any spells. All of that jazz. Oh, it's even a draw 2. I even happily forgot about that. So kill 2 creatures, draw 2 cards. Very, very solid. This Flooded Strand could also be the end of me. The opponents played this incredibly well. I really enjoyed how they executed. Because now, Plow, Binding, Force, all of those cards are stopping me in my tracks. And I might have to show the Harbinger. But if I see an unbeatable hand, I just concede here. Wow, Veil even? Oh boy. Veil of Summer. I don't know what to do here. I think the right play is fetch my Swamp, cast Murktide. The thing is, the Swamp almost gives it away, but I could also just be someone who drew all my Underground Seas, in theory. Let's see. Murktide Regent into the Daze deck. Don't love it. So with Terminus, Veil, are we really playing Psychic Frog Terminus? Unclear to me. But also a big advantage for that deck. This looks like a good old plow or enchantment to me. Okay, so this game is over. Trying to get a little bit of information. If my opponent just, plays out a frog or whatever, then I have decent information to go by. Also, let's say they play a ground seal, or what do I know? My opponent has 8 cards in hand. Lorne Reveal hits the bin. Here's a Psychic Frog. Also, when I'm on the play, I think I should have the dazes to play into my own strengths. Oof, that's so bad. Here's swords. Feel like I'll just concede after my opponent's turn here. Caracas. Cameo. Don't want to show my opponent that I have push. Oh, my opponent was going to play something there. Okay, should have at least given that a look. I mean, Bowmaster's fine. Negation is fine. Brazen is questionable. I'm actually willing to cut those. Could also cut the Murktides. Let's see. Thoughtseize, Animate Dead, Animate Dead, Animate Dead, Troll. I don't mind cutting the Murktides, actually. But I need to cut more cards. Let's see. Maybe on the play, I just try and play into my own strengths. Being, backup stuff. Still at the 6, and I have to cut one more card. Which card here is not ideal? My opponent has 1 Caracas, but I think if I draw the Archon, I still need my Entomb to be good. Cutting a cantrip is not the best. Cutting a land could be playable. Maybe I cut a land. Which land would that be? Could be like a Flooded Strand. Keep the Swamp Fetchers. Keep the Sewers. Maybe just cut 1 Sewers, actually. I'll try and cut 1 Sewers, even though it is very good if we get to the mid-game, but with the dazes and the full package here, I'm actually trying to... I'm hoping we don't, basically. Okay. So, can't pass this up. I have turn 2 Psychic Frog, so... If my opponent plays this conservatively, the daze doesn't do anything. The Bowmasters can help me later. If Frog actually hits the battlefield, I can bin the Atraxa for the threat. Okay, Tamio's annoying here. I'm not gonna daze it. I'm gonna play a Frog. Brainstorm's fine. Then I'm gonna play Underground Sea Psychic Frog. Opponent. Once again, I'm hoping this daze will trade favorably. Whether I daze a Force, daze a Beanstalk, or I'm trying to be kind of fast here and lean on that kind of stuff. Okay, my opponent actually gonna go for it here. I like it. I think I'm supposed to return the sea because I want to, cast my spells on time. Getting dazed there is not ideal for the opponent. There's some weird scenario of, let's say my opponent stays home with Tamio. My opponent blocks. I pump it twice. But maybe that's actually fine with one of them being Atraxa. Okay. Oh, so okay, that's funny. My opponent preferred forcing and then dazed. I mean, we take it. Very good exchange for me. So I'm a little bit ahead on resources here, but Tamio has something to say about that, especially if you flip it with a Brainstorm, but you don't, so let's see. I feel like I should be digging, and Brainstorm is exactly what I want here. Entomb. Okay. Entomb is not bad. do feel like I should ponder this turn. Question is, do I keep the Atraxa to pitch to Force a Will? That's kind of the question. Or am I fine pitching a Daze? What if I get rid of land Bowmasters? Is Bowmasters going to be good this game? I'm really unsure. I'm actually going to try this. So get rid of those two. Fetch, cast Ponder. Then I have Force of Will, pitch Atraxa. These cards are tempting, but I don't have the third land. I guess that just disqualifies those cards. Draw the third land. So now I'm looking to set up a situation where I produce an Archon with Force backup at some point. Archon, worth noting, also kills Flip Tameo, which is kind of cool. One now has a couple of clues. I could have had a Bowmaster, but I don't. I'm predicting, since my opponent wanted to force over Daze turn 1, that they're going to play a Frog or a Beanstalk now, that I'm going to happily Daze, and then I'm going to be very content with having the Atraxa for future force. But time is kind of ticking, and not in the good way for me. Generally, when you're on the side of Reanimator, you want to close out the game rather than drag out the game against decks like Control. So I'm looking for a clutch Daze here, and I guess I should consider entombing Archon into my yard. I'm actually not going to do it because I could draw a Psychic Frog. Did I cut Murktides? Yeah, I cut Murktides, so I can draw Psychic Frog or Bowmasters, which would make me sad that I spend a mana on my upkeep, so. Here comes Frog, I assume. Here comes Daze. Return C. One has 3 cards. I know I have the Force. Not going to entomb for the reasons I mentioned. Drawing the land, and I don't have the second Surveil land in my deck, so joke's on me here. I can put a Archon into the yard, and I have Force of Will, but things are not good. Things are not good. Mainly because my 2, random draw steps was land, which is... It can be tough to compete if that's the case. Let's see if my opponent has any follow-ups. What could this be? Maybe just like Uro to, spin some wheels. I like that. Up the Beanstalk. So I guess I should respond with Entomb. Because if my opponent's last 2 cards are Force blue card, this is good sequence. Archon hits the yard, and now I have 7 incredibly good draws in my deck. Underground Sea is not one of them. Play a land and pass. Yeah, that's a tough one. Could have kept the Brainstorm, Negation, Harbinger, Ponder at that point. So it's always whether you want to, hedge against this or you want to press your percentages and go for the maximum potential. It always looks silly when it fails, either of those. So not too worried about that. This could be a Brainstorm to flip the Tameo, which I don't think I mind too much. My game plan is still the same. Ponder, yep. Looking back, the Bowmasters would have been awesome, but at the time I would have to get rid of Atraxa, so I wouldn't have Force blue card. Just, basically, this went from a very close game to not a close game, because my opponent had, a good engine in play, and I drew bad cards, so that's just how it goes. Force of Will. Super bad. Do I play the land out? Good question. I think it's okay to play the land out. There's some world where I need to cantrip multiple times and cast an Animate Dead. Let's see. My opponent seems very careful about you know, not playing heavily into Bowmasters, no shields down, etc. But at the same time, my opponent also knows that if I had the ability to reanimate a Archon, I would have done it a while ago. So Tamiyo keeps attacking. Here's the flip. I accept that. We're getting close to closing time here because next turn my opponent can bring back Force of Will, so I'm going to give myself one more draw, and that's going to be the end here. Pretty sweet game. It's always, you know, a bit like, I don't know my first word that I thought was, the first word I thought about was deflating, but it's really not. Like, I just played to my, you know, played to my outs, and I didn't get there. Good games, sweet match. And that concludes this video. So I was super excited to get to play some blue-black Reanimator again. Yeah, the deck is awesome. You have so many small lines where you're looking for, you know, optimize a little bit here, press the advantage here, hedge a little bit there, play around hate there. Like, super awesome. We got 3 great matches in with lots of the small decisions, you know, being on display. And that's basically why I play Magic. I play Magic because I care about the small decisions. I care about realizing the pros and cons and make those lists as extensive as possible real time, but it can be hard sometimes. But I think this one was a great display of why this deck is still good and why this deck has a ton of play to it. So with that being said, that concludes today's Legacy video. If you liked the video, please let me know. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know what you liked. And yeah, before you know it, I'll be back with more sweet Legacy action. Thanks so much for watching.